Yo, what's good, everybody? It's Austin here, or Luna. So I haven't uploaded in 3 days, and as you all know, I've been on a pretty good upload streak lately. Like a while, I've been uploading daily, and I missed 3 days recently. And I'm not happy to report it, but I've been sick. I still am sick. Not really sure what I'm sick with or how. I just woke up like 3 days ago, and my throat hurt like a bitch. And it hurt to talk, and literally any other illness I would have powered through and kept the upload schedule going, but my throat hurt so bad that it was literally hard to talk, so I took 3 days off. It still hurts a little bit, but I think that I'm almost done with it, so that's good. I'm back. Anyway, guys, today's story time, it's a good one, a very good one. It's one of those stories that I look back on and I think, damn, idiot Luna, idiot. But yeah, it's a good one. Anyway, today's story time, it all starts off back in 2014. Quite a long time ago. Yeah, 11 years ago. Wait, is it 11? Yeah, my math is right. I didn't pass school. So in 2014, I won't lie, I wasn't a good kid, all right? 2014 was definitely one of my peak, like, shithead years. I was definitely disobeying my parents a whole lot, not doing my homework, only just playing video games and sneaking out and doing a whole bunch of stupid shit. I wasn't a good kid, okay? We all know this, right? But back then, I was definitely peak shithead. And around this time, I was on thin ice with my parents. I wasn't doing too good with them. Now, you're probably wondering, Austin, what'd you do, man? Why were you on thin ice? Like, why weren't your parents happy with you? What was going on? Well, around this time in 2014, this was mid-school year, and I had just gotten kicked out of my school. Yeah. You're probably also wondering, Austin, what'd you do to get kicked out of school? Believe it or not, the reason I got kicked out was I stopped going. Like every day, my mom would go to work before my bus would come, and my dad didn't live at my house with us. He lived separately. So every morning when my mom would go to work, I just wouldn't get on the bus. I just would skip school. And I skipped school so many times that my principal called my mom in and was like, listen, your son, we do not want him here anymore. We're kicking him out. And I thought that was kind of funny that my school kicked me out of my school for not going to school. Like, hey, you're not coming to school? Here's your punishment. No school. You're kicked out. But there was more to it than that. So I got kicked out of my main school, and they put me in this like secondary school for like bad kids. I had been there a bunch of times throughout my middle and high school career. And it was like a smaller school where they'd send people that were misbehaving, essentially. It was just a school for bad kids, basically. It sucked. It wasn't good. Not a good place at all. So yeah, my mom and my dad and my whole family basically was pretty pissed at me because I got kicked out of my main school. So yeah, that's why I was on thin ice with them, right? Well, this was the night before I had to go to that new school, right? That new secondary school, like since I got kicked out of my main one. And I was getting ready for bed, and my mom came into my room, and she was like, look, tomorrow, I want you to behave yourself. I want you to do good, be respectful, get your work done. I want you out of this school as fast as possible. Because that was another thing. So if you performed well in this like school for bad kids, basically, like this secondary school, they would send you back to your main school. So she wanted me to do as good as possible so I could get back into my other school and not be in the shitty one anymore. So I told her, like, okay, I will. And she goes, no, don't just say that. Do it. Like, actually go there tomorrow and do it. Like, the whole time you're there, from day one to day whatever it is, try your hardest, do well, behave yourself. Because if you get kicked out of this school, or you have any problems there, even a single problem, a single warning, if I hear any misbehaving happens, I'm moving you out. And I was like, what? Moving me out? What does that mean? She's like, you won't live here anymore. And I was like, okay, so where would I live? Like with dad, with someone else? Like where would I go? And she was like, I don't know. Let's not cross that bridge, okay? And I was like, well, no, I'm curious. Like if I got kicked out of here, where would I live? And I was kind of like pressing the issue a little bit, and I shouldn't have. This was just me being an argumentative teenager. And it started to piss my mom off, I could tell. Like, she was definitely getting, like, visibly angry about it, and I kept pressing the issue. I kept being like, no, like, tell me, tell me. And she kept being like, I don't know, like, let's not talk about it. And I was like, no, tell me. And finally, she kind of snapped, and she was like, Austin, I'm not fucking talking about this right now. Go to bed, go to school tomorrow, get the work done. And I was like, fine, just don't make empty threats at me again. And she was like, what'd you just say? I was like, yeah, don't threaten to kick me out of my own house where I grew up. Like, don't do that. And this is just me being an asshole, man. Like, it really was. Like, my mom wasn't even being that unreasonable at all. Like, I do think it wasn't very nice to be like, hey, I'm going to move you out of our house and, like, kick you out. But at the same time, she was just trying to be like, hey, you got to start doing better or you're going to have consequences. But yeah, me being just a little shithead teenager and having a huge attitude, I told her to stop threatening me, and I called it an empty threat. And yeah, she got mad at me. And before I knew it, a whole fucking argument broke out. She was yelling at me, I was yelling back, I was saying curse words, I was swearing at her, I was being a very, very rude, very, very misbehaved son, right? Not very, very good. And we argued for a good 15 minutes, and it just got worse and worse and worse. Like, it went from like just, talking to yelling to screaming to me getting up, grabbing my backpack and telling her, fuck off, I'm leaving. To which she was like, no, you're not leaving my house. If you do, I'm calling the police. And I said, do it, I'm fucking leaving. And I threw on my backpack and I fucking walked out the front door without looking back. And like many other times, I ran away from home. Now, 9 times out of 10, when I ran away from home, it would go something like this. I would leave my house. I would then call up a friend of mine and be like, hey, can I sleep over? And they'd say yes. Then I'd sleep at my friend's house, and then I'd go to school the next day. And then I'd get home from school, back to my house, and me and my mom would talk. She'd ground me, and it would repeat. It wasn't very good. It was a bad cycle, right? But most times when I'd run away, I didn't actually run away, right? I would just go to my friend's house and sleep there the night and come back. And usually my friend's parents would like tell my mom that I was at their house for the night and like she'd know where I was. But sometimes, very, very rarely, I would like actually run away and not have anywhere to go, and I'd kind of be on the run. And this was one of those times, and one of the worst. I'll explain why. So after I took my backpack, right, and I ran out that front door, and I ran down my neighborhood road, and I got the fuck out of there, and no one was in sight, I did what I would usually do. I start calling some friends. I call like 3 of my closest friends, and 2 of them didn't answer, and the one that did answer said that he couldn't have me over that night. So now I'm worried, right? Because the 3 people I thought like, oh, I could count on, I could go to their house, they're not letting me come over. And now I'm like, oh shit, I'm actually homeless for the night. I have nowhere to go. What the fuck do I do? And I start trying to think of options, right? I'm like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. And I have a few options. Number 1, I turn around, I go home, and I just fucking take the punishment, and I stay home that night. That would have been the best option. Running away was not a good choice to begin with, so I should have just did that. I should have just went home and turned around. Well, I had 2 other options. I stay out for the night, and I just stay at 24-hour places like convenience stores and grocery stores, and I try and bounce around from 24-hour place to 24-hour place and not sleep for the night. And then number 3, keep calling friends and hope that one of them lets me stay there. So I tried number 3 first. I called some more friends up, and of course, no luck. None of them could let me come over. So I decided, okay, I gotta stay at a bunch of places for the night. I just have to bounce around and go to 24-hour places and kind of just stay out for the whole night because I wanted to prove a point. I wanted to be an ignorant little teenager, and I didn't want to go home and show my mom that she won, which is fucking stupid looking back. I should have just went home. So I end up walking around aimlessly from store to store in my area and just doing stuff around the town for probably 3 hours. First, I went to this gas station and hung out there for a little bit. Then I went to this 24-hour convenience store / grocery store, hung out there for a little bit. Then I went to another 24-hour grocery store, hung out there for a little bit. And by then it had been 3 or 4 hours, and I was getting extremely tired. Because at this point, it's late at night. It's probably 1 or 2 in the morning, right? Maybe 3 a.m. It's late, right? That's all I know. I know it was late. I was very tired. I only slept 3 hours the night before. So I was running on fucking fumes, dude. I was exhausted. And I thought to myself, okay, I need to find somewhere to sleep. I need to find somewhere that's going to be safe for me to sleep at, where no one's going to mess with me, and that's, safe and relatively warm. Now, guess what? I had a wonderful place to go for that. My fucking house. I could have just turned around and went home and slept in my own bed that night, and I wouldn't have to go through the shit I was about to go through. But nah, me being a stubborn little dickhead, I chose option 2, which was to try and find somewhere outside to sleep. And, you want to guess where I found? You want to guess what I found and where I slept that night? I decided that it would be a good idea to spend the night, by myself, keep in mind, in an abandoned water park. Now, I had been in this abandoned water park with my friends before, many times, late at night. I even went there overnight with some friends once, kind of just exploring it type shit. But this was different. This was me alone sleeping there that night. And the thought of it at first was hell no, I'm not doing that. That's a stupid idea. But then somehow I was able to convince myself, I was able to convince my 2014 self that it'd be a good idea. I remember exactly what I was thinking. I thought, well, there's probably security on the outskirts guarding it from people getting in. So if I sneak in without them seeing me, they'll guard other people from getting in with me and hurting me. And the slides are enclosed, so they'll be pretty warm. And at least like it's big and spacious. So if I need to run somewhere, I can run. And all these things I was telling myself, it just made no fucking sense. Like, the worst place to go as a teenager alone at night, like an abandoned amusement park. Like, what the fuck am I thinking? Forgot to mention that it wasn't just a water park. It was like mainly a water park, but there was also rides and shit. So it was a full-blown amusement park. So anyway, yeah, I was somehow able to convince my dumbass self back then that going to an abandoned amusement park for the night was a good idea. And I did it. I left that 24-hour grocery store I was at, and I walked like 3 miles all the way to this abandoned water park / amusement park. And when I got there, I almost turned around and left. That's how fucking creepy this place looked. I pulled up, or walked up as I should say, and I looked at it and I saw the ominous ass, like just overgrown weeds on the Ferris wheel and all the overgrown stuff like all over the roller coasters and the water slides, and how creepy and dark it looked because there was no lights. I just saw the silhouette of the park. It was fucking terrifying, dude. It was so just creepy looking. And on the outskirts, on the left and right side, I saw security cars with their lights off. And just everything I was seeing, right? Everything I saw pointed to, this is a terrible idea, Austin. Turn around and go the fuck home. But no, I was too stupid. I thought, all right, there's security on left and right side. I just need to go through the middle and sneak in. So I quickly ran as fast as I could with no lights on me, no phone light, no like reflective materials. I then jumped on the fence, climbed it as fast as I possibly could, jumped that bitch, and before I knew it, I was in the park. And I remember when I jumped that fence and I landed in the park, I thought, please tell me the security didn't see me. Please tell me the security did not see me. And I looked to my left and right side through the fence to see if they were like coming over, and they weren't. They were still parked in the same spots on each side of the park. So that meant that they didn't see me and I was in the park A-okay. And once I was in the park, it wasn't any better, man. I was even more scared because I'm like, yo, now I'm fenced in an abandoned park, a water park, amusement park, whatever you want to call it. And there could be other people here too. I might not be alone. And security's on the outside, not the inside. They guarded the outside, not the in. And I'm really in here. I'm really doing this. And it was another one of those moments where I was like, bro, just like turn around and leave, man. Like climb that fence and leave. But I didn't do it. There was just so many moments where I was like, yo, this is such a bad idea. But I was so stubborn and so ignorant and just so stupid back then as a teenager that I wanted to like show my mom who's boss and be like, no, I'm not letting her win. I'm not going home. When in reality, no one's winning. I was just being stubborn. If anything, I was just taking L's. I was just losing. So about 10 minutes into being in the park, I'm walking down just the big abandoned like creepy streets of this park, looking around at all the overgrown, like broken and abandoned rides and water slides and stuff. Just, thinking about how crazy this place is and how it used to be, home to a lot of people's summers and fun. And the more and more I like thought about it and just thought about how wild and crazy this place is, the less scared I got, surprisingly. I think I was just so lost in thought and so like, distracted with this park and its history that it was kind of distracting me from the fact that I was staying the night at an abandoned water park. And after walking up and down the street for a little bit, I kind of calmed myself down. I wasn't as anxious about the situation I was in. And it also kind of calmed me down to realize that nobody else was in there that I could see. Because I walked all the way up and down the main street of this park and I like kind of looked around, and from what I could tell, there was nobody there with me. Obviously, it's a very big park, so, there might have been other people there that I just didn't see, maybe in some of the rides or the slides or something, but from what I could see, there was nobody in the general areas of the park, right? So that calmed me down as well, to know I was alone. But that was kind of a double-edged sword, because even though I was calmed down about the fact that I didn't have other people there that could hurt me or, like bother me or freak me out, then I started to think about the thought of being alone, and that made me scared. The thought of being alone in this giant place, right? That was giving me anxiety. But that was a lot less anxiety than the anxiety of other people being there and potentially messing with me, right? Because I wasn't trying to get robbed or like, beat up or something. That would have been really bad. Anyway, after I walk around for a little bit, probably about 15, 20 minutes, I found the spot where I was going to sleep. I found this really, really cool slide by the old wave pool that was pretty much fully intact still. A lot of the other slides are like rotted out and cracked and broken, and pieces were missing from just like weather conditions and people fucking with them and stuff. But this one slide in particular was completely intact and looked very, very like in good shape. And it was in a cool area. It was over the wave pool. So I thought, okay, I'm going to climb up the stairs and I'm going to sleep at the top of that slide. Which, let me pause real quick. Stupid idea. I should have slept at the bottom of the slide, if anything, because if that top was weak and it broke and snapped, I would fall probably a good, 75 to 100 feet to my death. So that wasn't smart of me, but I did it. I went to the top of this slide and I laid down on like the little entrance area of the slide. I didn't want to lay too far down because if I went farther down the slide, I might slide down. So I laid down at like the start of the slide where it was flat. And I remember just laying down. I had my backpack as my pillow, my hoodie over me, and I was staring up at the plastic or whatever the material was of the slide. And I'm looking at like the spiders up there, and I'm just like, dude, I am really sleeping in an abandoned amusement park, in an abandoned water slide, all just to spite my mom. This is about to be the most interesting night of my life. Well, I end up staring up at the ceiling for about, 30 to 40 minutes, just doing nothing and just thinking and kind of like being in my head. I could have went on my phone or something, but I didn't do that because I had limited battery life and there was nowhere to charge my phone because this place did not have power. So I was trying to conserve battery life. But after like 30 to 40 minutes, I was like, all right, I'm going on my phone. So I pulled out my phone, and guess what? I had a text message that I didn't see from one of my close friends at the time, one of the friends that I had called and didn't answer. And he said, yo, what's good, man? Didn't see your call. So I called him again, and this time he answered. And he's like, what's up, man? And I was like, bro, guess what? He's like, what? I'm like, you're never going to guess where I'm at right now. He's like, what? Where are you? Now, this friend of mine, he knew about this abandoned amusement park. He had been there before with me and my friends. He'd explored it before, and it had a name. I'm not going to say the name because if I say it, you'll be able to find it, and, I don't want, people knowing where I lived and stuff and messing with this park, but I said the name of the park, and he goes, what? And I was like, yeah. He goes, are you with people? I was like, no. He goes, why are you there alone? What the fuck? That's sketch as hell. I was like, I know. I'm sleeping here. He goes, what? Why? I was like, I got into a fight with my mom. It was really, really toxic. I was angry, and I just stormed out, bro. I left. He's like, you ran away? I was like, yeah. And then he goes, and you thought the best place to sleep by yourself for the night would be in an abandoned water slide in the abandoned water park? And I was like, okay, well, when you put it like that, yeah, it doesn't sound very smart. He's like, bro, are you fucking with me? I was like, I'm not fucking with you. He goes, hold on a sec. And he changes the call to a FaceTime. He starts FaceTiming me, and I answer it. And I flip the camera, and he goes, holy shit, you are in a water slide. He's like, I could barely see, but I could hear it. I could tell by the sound, like you're in like a tube. And I was like, yeah. And then I like took this flashlight I had in my backpack, and I flashed it. You could see the water slide a lot easier. And he's like, dude, you're fucking insane. And I was like, well, bro, I ain't gonna lie. The reason I called you earlier is because I wanted to sleep at your house, but you didn't answer, and this was my next best choice, I guess. And he goes, well, I could ask my mom now, because you sleeping there kind of skeeves me out. I can't lie. I'm worried about you, man. I was like, yeah, bro, please ask her. I don't want to sleep here tonight. And he's like, bro, do you want me to tell her, like, where you're at? Because if I tell her that, like, you're where you're at, I guarantee she'll go easier on saying yes. I bet she'll be very inclined to say yes if she knows you're sleeping in an abandoned water slide for the night. And for some reason, my dumbass was like, no, don't tell her, because then she'll tell my mom. And he's like, all right. So my friend went and was like, hey, can Austin come sleep over? And she said, no, not on a school night, not tonight. So I was fucked. I could have probably just told him to tell her where I was at. She would have been like, never mind, he can come. But nah, I didn't do that. So I was fucked. And my friend said sorry. I said it's okay. I then told him I had to go because I had to conserve battery life on my phone, and we hung up. And I went back to staring up at the ceiling thinking like, Austin, you're a fucking idiot. Now, after about 2 hours of staring up at the ceiling, just thinking about how stupid this whole situation was and how dumb I was, I finally was able to drift off and fall asleep. And believe it or not, I slept very good. Surprisingly good. For sleeping on a hard, cold, abandoned surface of a water slide in a very claustrophobic tube, I slept like a fucking baby. I woke up like 6 hours later, and I know it's like not that much sleep, but for being outside in an abandoned water park / amusement park, I think that's pretty good sleep for 6 hours. I woke up to the sound of birds chirping, seagulls to be specific, because the park I was at, the abandoned park, was right by the beach. So I woke up to seagulls chirping and shit, and like yelling and stuff. And I could see the daylight like peeking through the water slide. Like from the top, I saw the light. And I crawled out of the slide. I got up. I stood on like the landing bay or whatever you want to call it, like the top of the staircase where you enter the water slide. And I had this crazy view of the beach and the whole abandoned water park, and the sun was over it. And I remember thinking like, holy shit, I really slept here. What the fuck? And I looked, and from where I was standing, I could see the 2 security guards in the parking lot, and they were outside of their cars talking to each other. And somehow, from where they were to where I was, it was so far away, but somehow one of these security guards saw me overlooking the park, and I see him point me out. And he starts yelling something. I can't hear it because he's so far away. I only hear echoes of his voice. And the other dude's pointing at me now, and they're both yelling, and I can't hear what either of them are saying. But I knew that I had mere minutes until I'd be caught if I didn't get the fuck out of there. So I had 2 choices. I run down the stairs as fast as I possibly can, or I do something real stupid. And I chose option 2. I run, I put both hands on top of the slide, I swing myself into the slide, and I fucking slid down that bitch as fast as I could sitting on my hoodie. And I rode that bitch all the way down to the bottom. And I am so lucky that the slide was intact enough to not break. Because imagine if it wasn't, and I got halfway through that thing, and it snapped, and I fell. Like, so many things could have went wrong, but I rode that whole thing down. I got to the bottom. I jumped off the slide. I proceeded to run as fast as I possibly could to the back fence, because the back fence is obviously not the front fence where the security was, and I jumped the back fence as fast as I could. And after I jumped that fence, I ran and I ran and I ran through some woods behind the park, and I just didn't look back, and I stayed running without looking back for a good mile or so until I was out on this other street, safely away from the park with no security in sight. And I remember after I got out on that other street and I was like just standing there on the side of the road and like realized I made it out, I just like had a smile on my face just because of how insane the situation was and how like wild it was that I didn't get caught. I guess looking back, it wasn't too crazy because literally those cops were on the other side of the park and had to like get through the fence and like get to the slide to even catch me. So I had quite the head start, but still like the fact that they saw me and I got out of there, like it was just wild. Anyway, after I got out of there, I realized something. I missed my first day at the new school. I was like, oh shit, I'm supposed to be there right now. And I spent, the whole morning at a water park sleeping. Not the whole morning, but, the first couple hours of the school day. And I ended up texting one of my friends, the one that I was talking to on the phone the night before. And I basically just texted him being like, hey man, I'm alive. Just got out of the park. Basically got chased by security, but I'm all good. I left the park. I'm on my way home now. Just want to let you know I'm good. And he's like, good to hear, man. I was worried about you. Did you get some good sleep? And I was like, yep. Surprisingly did. And after that, I walked on home. It was a pretty long walk, can't lie. It was like 3.5 miles, 4 miles, something like that. And I got home, and when I got home, there was company waiting for me. My dad was there, my mom was there, and a police officer was there. My mom's timing was impeccable because apparently she didn't call the cops the whole night. Yeah, she just thought that I was at a friend's house, and she decided to call them the following morning because I wasn't home yet or at school. So she called the cops, and they happened to be there right when I got home. And I remember walking through the front door, and all of them sitting at the table staring at me. And the cop goes, found your son. I was like, hey guys. And yeah, I had to sit down with this police officer, my mom, my dad. And for the first 5 minutes, they were just lecturing me, being like, where have you been? What have you been doing? And I told the police officer and my parents the truth. I was like, I slept at the abandoned water park 3-4 miles from here. And they were all in shock when I said that. The police officer led the way. He was like, are you serious? That place? You know how many dangerous people we catch over there on a monthly basis doing horrible things like drugs and robbing people and assaults and stuff, fighting? And he's just telling me all this crazy shit. And I was like, wow, good to know I spent the night there. And after he gives me this whole rant about how dangerous that place is and how I should never go there again, he kind of lets my mom take the lead, and she was like, look, Austin, you can never do this again. You were so lucky you're okay. And I was like, I won't. And she's like, no, seriously. And I tried to blame her. I was like, well, I wouldn't have ran away if you weren't being so rude last night. And she was like, come on, you cannot put this on me. And honestly, even then I knew, she had a point. It was not her fault. It was my doing. I'm the one that turned around and I walked out that door. So after this, I kind of just shut my mouth and stopped saying shit, stopped trying to blame her, stopped trying to blame anybody else. It was my doing, obviously. And I just shut up and I listened to them rant at me for about 30 to 40 more minutes, just being like, hey, don't do this again. And I just nodded my head and said yes, because I didn't want to do that again. I did not want to sleep at a water park again, even though it makes for a good story. And yeah, after like 45 minutes or so, the cop got up, he left. I didn't get in trouble or anything because the situation was handled by my parents and they were going to be the ones to discipline me. And after the cop left, I got grounded for a very long time. I can't remember how long it was. I think it was like 4 months. At least it felt like 4 months. And also, I had to go move in with my dad for a little bit. Yeah, I got moved out of my house for a bit. My mom was not bluffing. It was not an empty threat. I had to move out for a little bit and stay with my dad. So yeah, honestly, it wasn't that bad. My dad's house was pretty chill. Love my dad. He's a very chill dude. So really wasn't much of a punishment in my opinion. Just a different surrounding than what I was used to. So yeah, but yeah, I was grounded for quite a while at his house. So that wasn't very fun. But that leads me to the final part of the story. And that's the moral of the story. Do not sleep in an abandoned amusement park or an abandoned anything. Stay at home, sleep in your own bed. Do not run away and sleep at some abandoned place. I've never told a story time on this channel about staying in an abandoned place and it going well. So don't do that. But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this story time. Definitely a crazy one, definitely an insane one. And if you guys did enjoy it, please leave a like on the video. I'd really appreciate it. Feel free to leave your story times in the comments down below. And subscribe if you're new. I'll see you later. Peace.
Thinking I got trouble for days. Why is everybody acting like they got a friend? Type of shit I seen these days you couldn't comprehend. Making what I want, no cap.